Children can regress with toileting during times of stress, during times of growth spurts, if they're unsure, sad or upset. So it helps to think of toileting, toilet learning, not as a steady incline to the top, but more like a bumpy road where you're going up and down and up and down and up and down, and you'll eventually get there. Here are a few tips for toilet learning. The transition from nappies to the toilet and independent toileting is a big milestone for any child. Now, some children just do it very easy, like breathing. For others, it's a bit of a challenge. So parents often inquire, they're often talking to me about the few tips and the things that they need to know when their child gets to that stage. The first thing to understand is that successful toileting is about physical, emotional and cognitive readiness. It's not about the age. So don't worry if your child is such and such an age and still hasn't started toilet learning. Don't compare them to another child. Some children show signs of readiness by when they know that their nappy is full or when they know their nappy is dry. They show an interest in sitting on the toilet, or they ask to wear undies. Others can be a little bit fearful and worried about that unknown and what it means. Whichever way your child begins toilet learning, it's important that parents, teachers and children work together. It's difficult for the child if toileting at home and at school is on different levels, on different wavelengths. We need to have some consistency for the child's sake. Once your child starts to use the toilet, we need to make it the best possible positive experience that they can have. For children, sometimes toilet learning will take a long time and it will require a great deal of patience. For others, it's very quick. There can be a difference between an adult's aspirations and desires and a child's abilities and skills. Often I have some parents come to me and they say, "Oh, can my child start learning? Do you think it's good for my child to start learning to toilet train now?" And the child's only 1.5, 18 months, nearly 2. And I'm saying, look, they don't show the signs of readiness yet. And so we've got to talk through that. Different aspirations for the parents and the child. So often, children will be dry for a while before they can control their bowels. So don't worry about that last stage. It will happen, but it will take a while to perfect. So accidents are common and nothing to worry about. There'll be a lot of extra washing, that's all. For this reason, many people feel it's best, and I often say to parents, it's best to toilet train, to do toilet learning during spring and summer. Because during those months, it's far easier. The children are wearing lighter clothing. They can work out how to get their trousers down and sit on the toilet and how to pull their trousers up again. So it's an ideal time for toilet learning. Many years ago, I was a nanny in London. I just took a summer job and I had a 4.5-year-old that was in my care. And the mother worked fairly hard and also lived in United Arab Emirates and London, and so the child was mostly with the nanny. And so I came on the scene for the summer job, and I started at 7 and finished at 7. And the mother said, "Oh, I'd like you to toilet train my 4.5-year-old because I don't know what to do and I can't do it, and all the other nannies couldn't do it either. So it's your turn." And I was like, "Oh, good. I actually have no idea how to do this. I'm 24 years old. I've been a primary school teacher. This is a summer job. Fine." I said, no worries. I'll toilet train him." So I sat down with him and I said, "Okay, from today onwards, we're having no nappies. We're just going to have undies and we're going to just know about going on the toilet, and every 2 hours I would take him to the toilet, sit him on it, and just praise any attempts. And also, I just didn't mind. We were running outside in his garden in London, and he was watering those plants very happily a lot. But eventually we got from the garden to the toilet, and it worked out. So that was my first experience of toilet training. I thought, man, this poor child's got to 4.5 years old, and no one's being prepared with the patience, with the funniness of it in a way. It was just funny, you know. I mean, he was enjoying himself weeing all in the garden, but we did get to the toilet. So yeah, a good time there. Children can regress with toileting during times of stress, during times of growth spurts, if they're unsure, sad or upset. So it helps to think of toilet learning, not as a steady incline to the top, but more like a bumpy road where you're going up and down and up and down and up and down. You'll eventually get there, but it may take lots of patience and lots of time. And so don't worry if the child regresses. Just go back to the little plan and try again. Once we had in our centres a really very bright, gifted little girl. She was 3 years old, and she could read and write at about an 8 to 10-year-old age level. She's very competent and very capable, and a bit of a perfectionist. And so when it was time for her to learn how to use the toilet, she got down the wheeze number ones fine, but the bowel motion, she just didn't like that, obviously, didn't want to use the toilet, didn't like the whole process of it. And so for 6 months, we would find her hiding in boxes in the playground, you know, all sorts of places, doing poos because she wouldn't do it in the toilet. And at home, she would hide behind couches. Maybe there were reasons for that, maybe because she was very bright and she didn't feel like she had control over this and she wasn't quite ready. But we worked together as a team, teachers and parents, and honestly, 6 months later, we had that conquered. Yes, it took time, and 6 months is a long time as compared to a week of toilet training a 4.5-year-old, but we did get there. And so there's no problems, we just work together, and each different child's personality can also dictate to how this challenge can be. Once your child asks to use the toilet, then they're increasing in their self-help skills. They've got to learn how to pull their trousers down and pull it up again, how to wipe themselves, how to clean themselves afterwards. They also have this toilet learning is a real sense of achievement. They grow in their self-esteem. They grow in their abilities and knowledge. And so when they're trying to wipe their own bottom, there's a very hit and miss process there because their self-help skills are not quite there. So there's a fine line. Don't go and help them all the time because then you're robbing them of the practice that they need. But then also we've had sometimes parents who get very upset because their child comes home with a little bit of a dirty bottom. And we say, well, there's a balance. Yes, we will go and help them, but at the same time, we're trying for them to learn how to do it for themselves and not to take their attempts away from them. So the bath is a really good thing every night when their child is toilet learning. Plonk them in the bath and give them a good scrub. So that's just a few little tips, a few little things. I hope that encourages you that every child, I mean, believe me, a 21-year-old is very rarely in nappies. So every child will achieve this, but they will achieve it in their own time and often their own way. Thank you.